Once again, it's showtime. Time for another edition of Because You Love Cards, brought to you by the Last Frontier Casino. Hi, everybody. I'm Ben Tracy, along with co-host Michael Hope.
Welcome, online viewers. We're so excited for you today. We've got a big surprise, Benny. We've been talking on past shows about this November, 30 years, and we thought the viewers should have an opportunity to meet the guy that brought that to us. So today we're going to be interviewing. I had a chance to interview Mr. Teeny. We're going to talk to him about all of his times, where his vision started, how he ended up here in Le Center, talk about playing cards. It's going to be a real special treat for you guys to sit back and listen and enjoy what we had.
Michael, I had a chance to take a peek at some of the questions that you're going to be asking George. I'm going to tell you, I can't wait. Along with our listeners, this is going to be fun. It's an opportunity to really find out some things a lot of people don't know. So let's get right to it. Let's bring on the man with a vision and the key to the candy machine, Mr. George Teeny.
Yeah,
all right, pal.
George, I'm so grateful for you to be here today, to take time for our viewers to get a chance to learn a little bit more about you and hear you answer some questions about cards and just in general sharing. Can you believe it? 30 years, George. I sit back and think it's just amazing. 30 years.
Yeah, no, I can't believe it. I was going to build this thing with my partner, in a year and a half or 2 years, sell it to him, and then move on and do something else. In 30 years, I've got 3 kids that have graduated from college. They're on with life. I have a little less hair on my head. It's 30 years. I can't believe it.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, let's take the viewers back in time. You know, our tagline, Last Frontier Casino, because you love cards. Where did cards come into your life? We all have a story. For me, I remember being the little kid playing baseball down at the Frontier Room, 8 years old, selling my Little League candy. But for you, where did it begin?
You know, I actually remember that. It was, I guess when I was about 7 years old, my parents had 6 or 7 couples that they had played cards with down in our basement. And I was kind of the waiter. I'd clean up the ashtrays because you were able to smoke at that time, and I'd clear off the dirty dishes and help clean things up. And that actually got my first interest into cards.
Wow. So when did you're a kid, you're learning about cards, you know you enjoy it, but when did the thought come to you that maybe someday I would, my love for cards would start and turn into a business? Right. Where does your mind go when I say that to you?
Another good question. Let me see. Let me dig back deep. In high school, there was a crew of us that loved to play cards. In fact, we skipped high school and would go up to a Timberline Lodge up in Mount Hood, and we'd play poker by the giant fireplace. And in fact, I probably played a little bit too much. They suspended me from high school. I embarrassed my father, and he brought me back in. And then during the days of going to college, I'd end up in the commissaries playing bridge and hearts and gin with a variety of other players or people. And then from there, I had a construction company with a buddy of mine. We sold the business. I went down to Reno and got into some big limit games, stuff that was way above my pay grade at that time. And I played with people like, I know Pat Callahan, I don't know if that rings a bell, Railroad Mac.
Wow.
Certainly a lot of the players know Stu Unger and Doyle Brunson. Those are guys I ended up playing with, and I ended up beating that 50-100 game. And then I said to myself, this is it. I found myself a new direction.
Wow. So you talked about down at the Frontier Room, but the question I'm sure the viewers would love to know after 30 years, how did you end up here in Le Center? I mean, what brought you to this little place here out in the middle of nowhere?
That's a good point. Again, my when I was in Reno, I came back home. My mother had come down with Alzheimer's, and so I wanted to play cards because it was a game that was fluid. I could do basically anything I wanted during that time period that I had a lady watching over my mom. In the evening, I'd go back home. But during those days, I'd come in to Vancouver. I'd play cards there. I made money there. I ended up meeting my partner in the future there. And it transitioned to many things. I mean, I can think of a dozen stories about what happened back then.
Yeah. It's funny. I remember you back in the day, we opened up Le Center, the old roller skating rink next door, and you and Sammy went into business and opened up. And here we are 30 years later. And Hey, here's another question that, I think everybody would like to know. It's not easy to be in business for 30 years. And I'd just like to ask you this question and let the viewers hear. What has been your biggest challenge, with business 30 years here in the gaming industry?
Well, I got to think about that one. First of all, let me say, opening up a card room, playing cards, collecting the money, and leaving is not what it turned out to be. That's what I thought it would be. But it had everything to do from politics to finding a good team, the right people to operate. It is not just within inside the four walls that was important. It was outside. And so if someone were to ask me, as you've just done, ask me about the rooms, it is a culmination of many things. But it has to have a good team in order to run the operation when you're not there. My main area right now, and has been over the years, has been working outside of the room, and again, working within the politics, working within the association, the organization that has a bunch of us in. It's something far more than just shuffle up and deal.
Yeah, it is. Again, looking at that, but you've overcome a lot in the business, and we're here today. And again, it's another milestone, 30 years. I'm going to ask you this question. Mm-hmm. Why do you believe you've had the success that you've had here in La Center with the card room? And tell me, why is it? You talk about challenges, but what makes the Last Frontier special? What makes it, why do you believe we've made it this long?
Well, again, Mike, I fall back onto what I said earlier. I think it's the team. It's the quality people that operate. It's because my partner and I were rounders at one time. We understand what the players like. We understand what employees are like because we were employees, obviously. But it was putting together a group of people that cared about everybody within inside those four walls, and that's what makes it different. There isn't anybody that's in a higher position that doesn't love what they're doing, doesn't love the game of cards, of course, myself included. And so that, again, is the within inside the four walls, which make, as far as I'm concerned, unique from many rooms around the state.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, George, we could spend all day asking you questions. And, again, let me ask you this. Would you ever be willing to come back, sit here, and answer more questions and be able to share more thoughts and ideas about our clubs? Would you be willing to have an encore with us?
Mike, the first one's free. The second one's going to cost you money. And if there's a third, there'll be a lot of money involved. But, yeah, no, I'd be happy to.
I love it. Ben opened up. We talked about it earlier. The man with the vision and the key to the candy machine. And I know we've talked about the candy machine, but tell the viewers about the candy machine and why, because there's so many stories around that. But share with the viewers your story about the candy machine.
When we first opened up, my partner and I first opened up, in order to furnish the interior of one of these facilities, because we had no money, we would go to auctions and buy stuff 10 cents on the dollar, nickel on the dollar, and one of the things that we bought was candy machines. And so that was kind of my job, is to set up the candy machine and make sure it's loaded and taken care of every single day. And so out of necessity, that's where it started. It then became a little bit of I don't want to say a joke, but I haven't stopped doing it in 30 years. And the primary reason is that I'm able to sit down and talk to my employees that are on graveyard shifts at 5 in the morning, or maybe it's swing shifts because it'll be a little bit earlier but later than the day shift. And I get a chance to talk to them by name. And then the customers. Gosh, I can't tell you how many customers thought that I was a guy that just loaded the candy machine. In fact, I had employees tell our HR division, when they showed them my picture of me as the owner, they said, I thought that was the guy that just loaded the candy machine. I had no idea he was the owner.
I know it.
But it got me to be close to some of the people that I would have been close with if I was on the floor all the time. And obviously in the ownership role, I'm usually in an office doing stuff. But the excitement of meeting them, the feel, the sounding of the chips, the shuffling of the cards, all the stuff that got me excited in the gaming, actually is centered around that candy machine.
Wow. Well, George, it's been a real honor, and I'm sure the viewers enjoyed getting to know a little bit about your story. And I just want to tell you how grateful I am for you taking the time and say thank you for being you,
You bet.
and looking forward to the next 30 years.
You bet. I'll be around, God
All
willing.
right. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Wow, Michael, that was great. And since we go back to day one, you and I, along with George
All the
Seeley,
way
30
back.
years, we can certainly vouch for George's integrity, his leadership, and above all, his love of cards.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm telling you, just great. In the meantime, come visit us. We're close by, we're fun, and play all the poker and table games you love. Just take exit 16 off I-5 to downtown La Center. To find out about gaming, offers, and promotions, check our website and Facebook for special offers and promotions and all the stuff that's going on. Just log into the lastfrontiercasino.com. In the meantime, we're here because
you love cards.